Cuccinelli, in your public service as the Attorney General of Virginia and in your position as state senator at one time, you've been a strong supporter of the Second Amendment rights. Now, as a founding partner in the United Self-Defense Law Firm, which focuses on providing counsel in the area of self-defense rights, you are continuing to focus your career on the protection of the Second Amendment rights. First question, do you believe that the President's executive actions to implement new gun control measures will have a deterrent effect on violent gun crimes in our country?
The answer to that is a simple no. What he's done in the area of guns is so thoroughly indirect as it relates to actual crime occurring either on the street or when you have these tragic mass shootings and mental health related incidents. There can't be a connection. Anyone contemplating crime, when you think of deterrence, you think of them contemplating the consequences. This will have nothing to do with that.
You spent a lot of time, your background, dealing with the mental health issues that face all of us in this country. How can we do more there, and what would you recommend?
Well, when your exchange with Attorney General Strange, you noted states reporting information, and one of the lessons learned out of Virginia Tech for us was in the case of Cho, he had encountered our mental health system, but he hadn't been formally adjudicated without his objection for mental health incapacity. However, he had submitted under the within our court system to mental health treatment, and because he went that route rather than resisting the adjudication, he wasn't reported to the NICS system. We have fixed that in Virginia, and I believe a lot of other states learned some of our informational lessons, if you will. If you look about a year to 2 years after Virginia Tech, you start to see in the data a much higher rate of reporting of these sorts of people to the NICS system, because we don't want them to be able to purchase firearms. And that was a failure of a system that we thought would cover this area in Virginia. And I think a lot of other states are learning from that mistake and fixing it.
You're not saying we've solved the problem, but
not at all.
We're taking some steps in the right direction.
We have taken some steps in the right direction. You heard statistics earlier today about the number of gun checks, 23 million or so. And in Virginia, and I'm sure it's true in Alabama as well, we stop hundreds, if not thousands, of gun sales already, and many of them being caught up in the system because of the information provided this way. And those information blocks are substantial. That is the one way that we might have changed the outcome at Virginia Tech. And with a lot of these incidents, it's hard to find any way to have changed the outcome based on the kinds of regulatory impositions the President is talking about here.
Sir, the executive actions which we've been talking about, and I call it chipping away at the Second Amendment rights here, how would what the President's proposing infringe on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens?
Well, to take the word you used earlier, the deterrent, the impression given to those operating as individuals in their mind conducting the business of gun sales is that they're being intimidated here. They're being harassed. You know, the Attorney General kept saying that they were clarifying. They were clarifying. And I have to say, I was sitting back there thinking, she knows what this word means. And that is not what they're talking about. They're holding a 5-year prison sentence out over the heads of anyone who isn't a gun dealer and who by any objective standard ought not be considered one, but who does sell a gun. And the Attorney General has said one is enough to fall under their umbrella. And with penalties like that, the obvious intent is to deter people from even considering making those otherwise and objectively entirely legal sales.
But millions of Americans, millions own guns, and I, for one, I have sold a gun and taken the money to buy another gun, but I'm not a gun dealer.
Yes.
And so forth. But under the Attorney General's recommendation, the President's recommendation, that could curtail my rights to do that, could it not?
Well, and that's how it affects your actual exercise of the Second Amendment. If you're a law-abiding citizen, and I'm a gun owner, I've done exactly what you just described, Senator. I've sold one gun and bought another one to kind of upgrade in the, in the kind of gun I own. And the idea here, in my impression, from the President, the Attorney General on down, is that they want folks in that situation to think twice, to maybe not be comfortable selling that gun, except directly to and from a firearms dealer where there's background checks going both ways. And so the ultimate effect is to slow down the opportunity to legally purchase by law-abiding citizens firearms. That's where the on the Second Amendment comes.
Chipping away at our constitutional right.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that rather than saving lives, the President's executive actions could result in more lives lost through the violation of the Constitution guaranteed right to self-defense?
Well, certainly one of the things that is little discussed in situations like this is the defensive use of guns, is the actual use of guns for protection. If you go 5 years before Virginia Tech, we had another school shooting down in Southwest Virginia, an Appalachian Law School, where a student came onto the campus, shot and killed 3, and was stopped by 2 students who ran to their cars and got their guns.
Okay.
And that person, unusually enough, simply surrendered. Normally, when confronted, someone with mental health issues who has gone on this, they actually take their own lives most of the time, statistically speaking. But there it was used 5 years before Virginia Tech as a protective measure. And there's no compilation of those occurrences anywhere that I know of. And yet we see them all the time. In my law firm, those are the kinds of people we're defending. We have hundreds of clients. We have never had a client inappropriately use a gun. We have defended clients who have drawn their guns in defense and had to then protect themselves from prosecution, for instance, and all of those have been resolved favorably. But that is understated here. There's no questioning the tragic outcomes that happen time and time again in this country. But it is also the case that Second Amendment rights are exercised and guns drawn to protect people, to defend families, to stop crimes that are in process.
Just share with us for a minute something we all believe in and we're taught and practice. We have a right to defend ourselves, do we not?
Absolutely. It's a natural right, and we're a natural law country, and it's what the Second Amendment, as one of the justices, I believe it was Scalia, said, didn't give us this right. It preserved the right that we already had as a matter of natural law.
Thank you.